everybody.
G'day guys.
There's been a lot going on behind the scenes.
Some of you may remember that we did a DNA test for Diesel a little while ago. And
It was way back when he first came, and we just wanted to do whatever testing we could just to make sure that those odd behaviours weren't medically related in any way.
Best understanding of what could be going on.
Yeah, just so that we were doing the right thing by Diesel.
And there are a few breed-specific conditions that we've seen before in other working dogs, so that would help narrow down any sort of medical conditions.
Yeah, someone actually suggested something in the comments on one in particular.
That's right, yeah.
And I remember thinking, goodness, it does sound like that.
Yeah.
So we thought that we would do the DNA test along with the health screening.
And we did a health screening, yeah. So
and that
we got those results back
ages ago, so I think it's now like fast forward 4 weeks later.
Yeah. But it has to be sent up to America, go to a lab,
that's right.
Test it.
Yeah. I think it goes to a university in
Does
America that is doing all the research into dog DNA and everything. So it was pretty exciting. We were waiting, weren't we?
Yeah.
And we got the results back, and
we actually got them back a little while ago, but it went to our spam folder and we missed it.
Yes, I'm so sorry because all our members were asking.
So it's usually a bit quicker. So we're about a week
missed
late.
the email.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh well. Anyway.
So we got the DNA results back for Diesel.
Yeah.
We had a guess before we got them as to what we thought they would be. We did also ask our members what they thought, and I have to say that the majority of them were on the money.
Yeah, right.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, good job.
You got it right. So I
if you want to have a crack, press pause now.
Yeah.
Have a guess before we reveal.
So we'll just go straight to. Should we say what we thought? Yeah, I've already said that you're right. Okay. Well, we'll just say what it is then.
Yep, sure. So, it was only 2 breeds, but they weren't 50-50. 34.5% Border Collie.
Border Collie.
Which
no
is
surprise
no surprise there. We both picked that one. The big one there for me was that it was a smaller percentage. I thought it was going to be a bit more Border Collie.
Same.
And then 65.5% was Australian Kelpie.
Yes.
So Border Collie Cross Kelpie, Mr. Diesel.
Yeah, which is all working
dog. All very serious working dog.
Very much so.
Very strong herding drive.
Yeah.
Makes complete sense now, seeing Diesel and how he is.
It does. He did give us his DNA tree, so they tell you what his parents were, what his grandparents were, and then what his great-grandparents were. And it's pretty much like 4 generations of Aussie Kelpie, with just a little bit of Border Collie at the grandparents' part. So that, to us, if we were to interpret that here in Australia, that kind of lineage,
he's come from working stock.
Yeah, it means that he likely has come from a working farm, that's bred working dogs.
Yeah.
He's 5 years old, so, whether he was given up as a puppy or, we know that his previous owner was not a farmer.
Yeah, from before we got him.
Yeah. So he must have been given up when he was a lot younger. So he has missed out on, training to return to farm life, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely. He's got that strong herding drive, but to be an effective working dog now, he's got about 12 months worth of training in front of him, and he's already 5. He's already close to retiring age as far as being an effective working dog. No one's going to put that effort and time in and only get a year or 2 out of him. That's why they do them as pups, and then they get the maximum working life out of the dogs. So yeah, that ship sailed for him.
So because we do get a lot of comments from our audience in regards to where they think a dog should go, and it does seem pretty understandable when we say, well, he's got really strong herding instincts, or oh, she's got a really strong, bite drive, or all of those things. And then your first thought would be to, well, surely there's a job for that dog in that environment. But the reality is that
when you're talking about working dogs, you're talking about cost effectiveness, you're talking about maximum production of work, and so you've got lifespan, you've got crucial learning points from a very young age, you've got behaviour shaping, you've got personality shaping. There's so many things that go into it, and there's so many points of assessment, especially for Abra's line of work. The failure rate is actually extremely high. So the amount of dogs that go into those programs, the majority of them do fail. I know in the military it's like,
so we're going to do a video on Abra, and we're talking about Diesel, but it is similar, isn't it?
It
that
is.
He's 5 turning 6 now.
The ship sailed.
And he was given up by a farmer back in the day.
As far as being a working dog,
he's we
not
do
an
have to
option
get
for
to
him
a
anymore.
point where we go, he's now trying to find a home in society. And it's challenging because he was bred for something else, but we've got to work with what we've got. So it was great doing the DNA testing because it does tell a bit more about Diesel. Now, we did also get the health screening, and this was done ages ago whilst we were doing the vet work also. And now the vet work, which was blood testing, that came back that he did have elevated liver enzymes. And then he went that because of his odd behaviour, they thought possibly liver shunt, and so they then did further testing for a liver shunt, and that came back negative. So it ended there, the investigation, and we were just going down the path of, it's just behavioural coping mechanisms, all of that. But we did get the health screening back, and there is nothing of concern, which is great news. However, he did, his DNA showed that he has both copies of the variant in the GPT gene,
which is linked to liver
damage.
So it would explain the elevated results.
So
that he originally
we're not
got.
jumping to anything here. It's not a diagnosis.
But they're just saying that we should go and test further for specific things.
It means that we need to talk to our vet again about what further testing we can do.
Settle down.
And also just monitoring his levels,
just
for any change.
So
all in all, I think that it was a really good exercise.
Really beneficial, I think.
Yes.
It was a great outcome. It gives us perfect understanding of his behaviour and the reason why he is the way that he is. But then again, on the medical side, it's giving us a clear direction to further investigate, where the original investigation with the vet came up at a dead end. So I think it's been invaluable. It's been really, really good.
Yes, even with Diesel's training, it does make total sense, doesn't it, in terms of why you're having to focus so heavily on guiding his herding instinct. It's just so strong.
It's evident to me that he's never had any sort of behaviour shaping as far as that instinctual drive is concerned. So he's got a very strong instinctual drive to herd, and when the dogs aren't responding to him, he's adding pressure, which will then, in a flock, that would then get them to start moving. So he's doing what he should be doing.
Absolutely.
He's just doing it to the dogs,
so
which
it's
is not
really
okay.
understandable what he's doing. And just to give everyone some kind of idea, like when we say he's got a really strong herding instinct, we've had, being like an Aussie, more rural farm style doggy daycare and training, we've had a lot of working dogs come through the farm. Like at one point
Kelpies,
we
border
had
collies,
11
cattle dogs.
Kelpies, all of our staff members have, you know, cattle dogs.
Cattle dogs at some stage, didn't they?
We've seen a lot of working dogs come through, and like what level of, you know, herding instinct they have in a home environment situation or a domestic situation, as opposed to you know, a farm working station. And no one has had such a high,
not without training,
herd.
So not even we've had some of the Kelpies have been trained to do herding.
Yeah, like Tangy.
And they were nowhere near as good as him.
No,
So
well,
he
it's not
just
full,
has
it's
the
not,
full-on
it's just,
drive.
it's
you know?
it is so full on, like to the point of his own detriment, you know.
yeah.
Like we're not saying it as, it's a great thing to have in the environment that he was bred for, but now he's found himself in the system. And so whilst it probably wouldn't present as so much of an issue in just an ordinary household, maybe where you know, they don't have 20 dogs or sheep, or
and even when they go to a park or out in public, there wouldn't be a big group of dogs like there is here.
Yeah, he would
And
likely just chase birds.
He wouldn't mistake that for a pack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he would literally just run around, chase birds, have a good time, and come home.
But here we have to focus on it because it just doesn't, it's not social with the pack. So we have a greater understanding of Diesel now, which is wonderful.
Which is great. Gives us a direction to monitor his health as well, moving forward.
Yeah. So we just wanted to update everybody on that and where he's at.
So well done, Embark.
Yeah.
So we've got 4 left.
Yeah.
So we're going to do another 4 dogs today. We're going to send them all off. And so we'll get some more results back shortly.
Yeah. We'd love to probably do the whole pack. But it is
especially
very
that
expensive,
health one,
isn't it?
It is expensive. It's like, what is it, $500-$600 for one shot?
I think,
I think it's up there.
something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I know that we initially just bought the DNA test, but then we've upgraded it to the health screening.
Yeah. So next we're going to talk about Abra.
Abra.
And so this week I had my consult with the dog training professional who trains protection dogs for the military, for the police, for private security, all of the above. He's had his own breeding program. He's been in the industry for many, many years. He is, in our opinion, one of the best in Australia to do this kind of work. And so therefore it was good to pick his brain and get some tips and advice from him.
What role this person plays and why we wanted to speak to him. But in some instances there's been a little bit of misunderstanding as to like why and where and all of that. So I just want to be really specific.
Okay.
So the trainer that we spoke to, he's the founding director of this organisation.
Right.
Now, this organisation is the one that is employed, engaged, contracted to the military, the police force, search and rescue, and then he personally, trains and sells personal protection dogs.
Correct.
So we wanted to find this person who is the guy that supplies, for want of, not a better word, supplies to those industries that would be possibly an option for Abra. So military, police force, search and rescue, personal protection dog unit, right?
Yep.
He breeds the dogs, he tests them, and he trains them, and then they are, sold to those units at approximately 18 months old. So they're not trained within the police force, and they're not trained within the military. He trains them, and then they are handed over, properly
as capable dogs.
As capable, ready to go dogs.
Yep.
So the reason why we needed to speak to him is because he's the one that, would be training a dog like Abra for those roles of work. because a lot of people have said, you know, what can you contact the police force? Can you contact the military? Can you contact, you know, whatever? He's the guy that we would contact because he's the ones that supplies the dogs to those units.
But I have contacted a military as well.
Right.
And you know, as expected, it was not suitable.
Like someone like Will, for instance, you know, as a military canine handler, he's given a dog like Abra at 18 months old, fully trained, ready to go.
That's right.
In terms of like the police units, he said, we asked, you know, would Abra, you know, would they be able to take on a dog like Abra? And he said that, you know, they don't have the capabilities to train or retrain a dog like Abra with issues. So for one, you know, she's not a dog that has been bred for that and then gone through training and testing from, you know, however many weeks old, like we're talking 7 weeks old, all the way up until 18 months and then handed over as a perfect specimen. She's a dog that's now 5 months old and hasn't gone through anything that she had to do, you know, or was bred for.
She's missed out on all of those key training points and key exposure times to become or to be identified as potentially effective in that role. Hey, settle down.
We have been inundated with comments and messages about where Abra could go. And so we really are exhausting. You know,
it is exhausting going over this all the time. It's exhausting, guys. Just believe us. We've investigated.
Well, I just want to really be
said
specific
it a million times.
as to, you know, but this is the process, and so we're talking to the person that is like, you know, Abra can't go into the.
Basically, we trust that this guy knows what he's talking about. So when he says she's already missed out those pivotal moments for assessment, she's missed out.
Yeah.
You know, unless someone else is gonna.
He has to take her on. That's the reality of it. Those units aren't, you know, they don't take on a dog like Abra. He takes on a dog like Abra. But he doesn't take on a dog like Abra. He breeds them and trains them from a very young age. So that is not an option, you know, at this point. We have tried and we've exhausted that option. So, you know, like Diesel, she's been bred for a specific, you know, environment and purpose, and now
she's lacked the training program.
Yeah, and so now she's found herself in the system. So there is a lot more though to talk about from the consultation in terms of, well, you know, what are some options for Abra, you know. Now she can still go into personal protection dog work. Like that is a legitimate option. So what that means is that she gets trained up until approximately 18 months old or 2 years old. And then she would be sold as a professional personal protection dog, like her parents. So that is a real option for Abra. And that is something that we did discuss with him. And the way that would work is that you would take on that training and he would mentor you to do that, and then Abra would be handed over after, you know, when she turns 18 months or 2 years. Just develop a closer bond with you and our family, you know.
By that stage, you know, she's going to feel like she's been abandoned. She's like she's always going to miss this life.
They don't usually when they're training dogs like well he wouldn't have that dog in his family.
No, they're kept in crates. They just come out to work. They've got no socialisation. They've got no outside stimulation other than that drive to work and to bite, which makes them the most effective tools they can be. So the other side of that is,
it does go against
someone like myself could undertake that type of training for that end result, but I don't think, given the fact that we're not going to crate her, we're not going to starve her of stimulation so that she becomes more aggressive or more drive to bite, and all those things that make a very effective working dog, because it doesn't really align with what we do here at the farm.
No.
It's not something that we feel is necessary for her to live her best life.
Yes, that option is it would just go against a lot of things that don't get us wrong. We're not poo-pooing personal protection work at all. We're talking about Abra specifically and her time here at the farm.
Yeah.
And our role and responsibility in that. I don't think that that's something that we want to do. We are all about the dogs being social and enjoying life here at the farm.
Yeah.
We don't train them for that kind of
we're actually the opposite.
life.
We train them out of the aggression.
So whilst we're trying to be open-minded about it, that she was bred for that kind of role in that kind of life, she's ended up here. And, we've done the right thing, and we've spoken to somebody about it, and he's given us all the work, and he's willing to mentor you
Homework,
to training
packages.
Abra.
As far as that goes, I don't think that really we can consider that option as a justified or serious option, training her up to be that and then handing her over at 18 months or 2 years. To me, I don't think that that's an option for her, personally.
Yeah.
So
personally, I feel the same.
Yeah. It's diesel rolling in the grass. So at the end of the day, I think that she would still get some stimulation and enjoyment out of her instinctual drive to engage in some of those games related to that kind of work. And I think that we will most likely investigate that a little bit further, take on a couple of those games and see what her natural drive is and what her natural abilities are.
This is just the initial consultation. We do intend to have several more at different stages. You've got training homework to do with Abra.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about the training and the type of training that they have, and some of the, I don't want to give away any of the intellectual property from this trainer. However, I can already see that the type of training that he does will get the best out of that dog for those roles. Where I feel like what I'm willing to go, the length I'm willing to go with Abra, is all around teaching her those games and teaching her the fundamental lessons of those games, which is the bonding, which is the drive to impress your owner, that kind of thing. That will all be naturally developed, and I think that's beneficial. But there are, and she will reach her, maximum natural potential doing those things. But to get her to be exceptional, you would need to start making sacrifices, just like with any professional athlete. You need to make personal sacrifices to be the best you can be.
So and people are going to hear that, and they're going to...
I'll tell you what the sacrifices
Oh, you're
are.
going to say
Yeah.
it? Okay, good. Because I just think that people might hear that,
Yeah.
and they might imagine in
Let's
themselves...
just talk about the sacrifices.
Because when I heard it, I was shocked, and I was like, oh, we're not doing that.
Yeah. So, there's a couple of different things. First off, there's different ways to teach your dog to be motivated by food, and obviously the main motivator will be hunger, and so there's that line of it. But then the other side of it is creating that really explosive pent-up energy to then focus on that bite work and on that job. Now that's where I feel like for what we do here, it doesn't really align with what we're trying to achieve for her, which is the best possible life she can have. So it would mean, not allowing her on these exercise runs, not allowing her on these socialization walks, not stimulating her outside of those particular games that will develop her bite work. It means she would miss out on a lot of the stimulation and enjoyment and, you know, what this farm and what we do here has to offer a dog. And so she'll be deprived of all those things, but as the result, she'll be highly effective at that other role. And so that's where I feel I'm not willing to push her to the nth degree just to reach those benchmarks. I would rather have the fun with her, give her the life experience, teach her all those things that we do here at the farm, but then add some of that training in on top of that. And then she will just reach her natural potential and her natural ability without really forcing the exceptional ability that bring that out.
So just on like overall, what they are trying to achieve in those actual jobs, like the work roles. We're not talking about in any kind of home environment. We're talking about if she was in a military or police or, you know, personal protection. Overall, they are trying to develop that drive, correct?
Yeah.
And so there's this is how they train to increase that drive.
Yeah, so exactly. So, you know, they get limited time to get out and play these games. So they want them to save up all their energy and everything they've got to put 110% into these games to then set the standard of this is how I play this game. You know, it makes total sense.
Yeah, like
it makes total sense. It's the difference between playing a game of backyard cricket at the beach on the weekend versus training for 6 months and going on a tour and playing professional. You know, that's the kind of difference we're talking about. Everyone makes sacrifices to reach that top tier. But I think the sacrifices would be detrimental to her overall life experience as far as what we're
especially, I think, given the fact that whilst Abra's bloodlines are, you know, her parents were bred and trained and qualified for protection work. Abra wasn't. Even though she has it, that DNA in her, she wasn't bred by this guy and put into, you know what I mean? Like she was accidental.
She was an accidental litter, or she was a backyard breed,
So
whatever it is.
She has
does
a choice.
come from
We don't have to
bloodstock,
force
though.
her into that. You know, she could live a wonderful life. You know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she doesn't.
If given the right owner.
That's right. She doesn't have to go down that path. It's like, you know, I'm trying to pick a good example here. What about what is it? David Beckham, one of the best footballers, you know, going around, and then his kids naturally going to be soccer players. Maybe not. Do they have to be? No, they don't.
Yeah. You know? Okay. Well, yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, it's just one of those things where she doesn't need to go through that deprivation of life experience just to be perfect at one thing. Let's just give her all of those things, and if she shows, you know, a good enthusiastic drive to do it, then we'll keep doing it as a fun game.
Yeah. It does mean that the other option of us training her to a point and then her being adopted out, there is a lot of responsibility and commitment and everything on this person to continue that work.
I personally think it's too much responsibility unless it's going to a professional like this guy.
Yeah.
Like that's just because really, how do you hand a dog over to someone like that?
Yep. But just to share with everyone, you know, even with the kind of rehab work that we've done or the training, you know, in the earlier days of rescue work, you know, it hasn't worked out as those people have committed and said that they would continue the training.
Yeah, so I do all the heavy lifting, I do all the bulk of the training, and all they've got to do is some maintenance exercises. But we're finding that it is proving a little bit, I wouldn't say too hard, but I would say maybe because they're going out as completely happy, social, no problem dogs.
Yeah, it
they don't
feels
feel
like you
it's
don't have to do
it's
anything.
necessary to
Yeah.
maintain that
Yeah.
until all of a sudden they
There's
have a problem.
Yeah.
And you go, well, have you been doing this? No, I haven't needed to. They've been great. It's like, no, that wasn't the brief.
So in a situation like with Abra, you know, that is of concern for us because even just from our own experience, you know, it's
Yeah. So there's a lot of concerns with that. You know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if this dog is fully trained and reaches those extreme levels. If that person takes that dog into the wrong environment and it bites someone, there is no protection for those dogs. They are treated exactly the same as a dog bite in public to anyone else, and chances are they're going to be removed and destroyed from that person. So these are the concerns that we have, and this is why we're like, oh gee, who's a special enough person to hand over that kind of responsibility for this dog? This dog, you know, there's a lot of concerns. There's a lot of issues associated with her instinct to bite, and then further training to bite under control. Is it going to be used safely, responsibly? Is the training going to be kept up to a standard that she remains safe? There's so many factors there.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are that have to be considered, and we are continuing to work with this organisation at this point. So, yeah.
So I ordered a few toys from them. I ordered a harness and just to start exposing her to some of those games. And we did a couple of little test exercises the other day just to see how she responded, and sure enough, took to it like a duck to water, didn't she? She's like, yeah, I'll play this game with you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she loves it.
Yeah.
So that's where we're up to with Abra. Yeah.
Difficult case as far as options for rehoming.
Yeah, so
Very
different
difficult.
and so different to all the other dogs that have come through. But she's a challenge in like, where does she belong?
Yeah.
That's the most challenging thing, isn't it?
You know what she is? If we're relating it to a car, she's a Ferrari on a farm. It's like, what do we do with this? We need a four-wheel drive. Why have we got a Ferrari? And it's like, okay, well, do we take it to the track every now and again, give her that exposure, or do we just put some four-wheel drive wheels on her?
And the Grand Prix drivers have said no. So
yeah, exactly. Good add to that. I like that. They're like, no, we don't want that car.
We've got our McLarens,
Yeah.
and you know.
We don't want to get into a debate of Ferrari versus McLaren, okay? Let's just keep that out of it.
But
Although my tip would be,
no.
yeah.
We're just making light of the situation,
Yeah,
aren't we?
yeah, exactly.
But we are
I
trying
like to put these different perspectives in place. For
in
those
all
car nuts out there.
honesty, her best option would have been the person that surrendered the litter probably should have surrendered her to the company that she bought the parents. Like,
Yeah,
so
straight back to where she bought them, said,
as
hey,
puppies.
I've just had these two dogs, because they train the dogs. They would have been like, yeah, those dogs are great, give them back,
That's exactly
we'll train
right.
them up.
They should never have gone to the pound, and
No.
they should never have gone out into the community. You know, they missed the boat. They should have, like, at 7 weeks is when they needed to be back in that organisation and through that training program. So that
If
person,
she was going to go down that road.
yeah, exactly. But in terms of her having a job, that was her window of opportunity.
Yeah.
She should have been handed back when she was a puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's 5 months old, and she has no options.
Oh, little miss.
Well,
She's got options.
she does have options. Yeah.
And who knows? Who knows where it's going to
Yeah. Or in blind.
Or Ingus.
Ingus.
All right, you started it. Everyone's in there now.
Okay.
Oh, it's called a pizza day. Oh, yeah, you want some pizza? You want some pizza? Oh, yeah, give me some pizza. How many pieces do you want of pizza? Oh, how many pieces? Oh, just leave the box. Just leave the box. Oh, 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 oh.
Are you watching the way that he's playing?
Who?
Rover.
No.
He's playing on his back like this, and every time he moves around his back legs, he's squirting weird. Going any direction. He's using those muscles up, see?
He's got some extra
Oh,
ammo.
there he goes again. The sneeze always brings it out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, good boy. Yeah, good boy, mate. Thank you. Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Abra loves Roscoe's growls.
Isn't she? Gus is getting right in there too. He's like, I like it too, he says.
Gus loves it.
Fredo.
It's Tanky boy. It's Tank. He never gives up.
Let me lick your console.